Welcome back, high school hockey fans. It's another edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I'm Mike Hammett, along with my four other very smart colleagues, somewhat. Burglar, Bill Jr., Trasher, whose glasses are glaring off of the computer monitor, and Del Scanlon, who's got his toys out, I see. And let's go ahead and get things started. This is our playoff preview, but we got to do our weekly business. And guys, let's go ahead and do our weekly business. It's the Wyndam Garden Inn of Fitchburg Players of the Week. And Boigle, looks like it's your turn.
Thank you. Our Wyndam Garden Inn Girls Player of the Week this week is the sophomore goaltender from the Rock County Fury, Olivia Cronin. On Thursday, she had 38 saves. All of them were needed in a 1-0 win over the Cap City Cougars. Then on Saturday, she followed that up with an 11 save shutout over Viroqua. So stopping 49 of 49, which is about all you can ask of her. Olivia Cronin is the girls' Wyndam Garden Inn of Fitchburg Player of the Week. On the boys' side, staying down there in southern Wisconsin, because MJ feels we've been neglecting that area, we have Walker Koulis, a junior forward from Janesville. On Tuesday, he had 2 goals in a 6-2 loss to Verona. On Wednesday, he had a goal in a 6-2 loss to Sun Prairie. And on Thursday, he had a goal and 3 assists in an 8-4 win over Cedarburg. So Walker Koulis, junior forward from Janesville, is our boys' Wyndam Garden Inn of Fitchburg Player of the Week. Wyndam Garden Inn, the official state tournament headquarters of Wisconsin Prep Hockey.
She may be called Olivia, but you can call her Baby Cronin.
The two wins that Rock County picked up last week also helped them clinch a 3-way tie for the Badger Conference title.
And that's why we should have conference tournaments.
I can tell you, Del, after watching her from last year to this year, her game has really picked up, and she's turning into a very, very good goaltender, very reliable in her sophomore year. Walker Koulis, well, Janesville had one of their top forwards go down with an injury, season-ending injury, and moved Walker's spot up, and Walker's responded and put some good numbers up, and it's good to see that next man up mentality, and it worked that way for him. So those are our players of the week, brought to you by the Wyndam Garden Inn, Bill. Is that what it is?
Yes, it is.
The state tournament headquarters of Wisconsin Prep Hockey, and we're not too far away from the state tournament, are we?
No, in fact, qualifiers start tomorrow in some areas.
That's true. They sure do. And let's talk about those qualifiers. What do you want to do first, guys? You want to do boys or girls? Or
why don't you read what's on the notes?
Oh, Division II preview. Okay. All right. Well, then let's go to the boys. You can pull your little bracket up there in Division II, and let's go Section 1. Where would you guys like to begin on this one?
Well, I'm sure the fine people of Superior would like us to begin there, but they continue their non-number 1 seeded ways this year. They're the 3 seed now in Division II, Section 1, behind Amory and Hayward, which is kind of a shock coming into the season.
Yes,
Not Hayward so much. They were a sectional finalist last year, and they've been good the last several years. But Amory getting in there at the number 1 seed, that was kind of a surprise to me coming in.
Yeah, and Amory and Hayward both have been in the D2 top 6 throughout the year. Kind of, Hayward has pretty much been there the whole time. Amory, I think, has been moving in and out of the 5th or 6th spot. So 1 and 2, well deserved. I probably would have flip-flopped them, but it's most likely the way that the sectional championship is going to end up with the 1 and 2 on this one. Superior might have something to say about that. They've been not having the greatest year this year, but don't ever count them out. That's my philosophy.
And they've been
Superior-
playing better of late. They just played a 1-goal game with Hermantown, who was the number 1 team in Minnesota D2 by a fairly substantial margin in the voting there. They'd played, I believe it was a 1-goal or 2-goal game with Duluth East, who perennially kind of beats up on them. So they did good there. And then they upset Eau Claire Memorial to end their season. They don't have the scoring on that, so I don't know what the game actually looked like, but they did beat Eau Claire Memorial right there at the end of the season. And Eau Claire Memorial hasn't been in the top 6 this year, but if we were still doing the top 10, they probably would have been in that 7 through 10 spot most of the season.
Yeah, and I don't know whether it's just out of blind loyalty or just because I've, seen this sort of thing happen before, but I really would not count Superior out. They're going to most likely end up playing, Hayward in the quarterfinals or semifinals. Yeah, I know. Hayward is one of those teams that was looking forward to the 2 divisions because they've always been blocked, by Superior and Hudson and the other Eau Claire Memorial, the stronger teams, and now they find themselves still having to get through Superior and now Amory. So I don't know. I wouldn't count Superior out right away.
And Trasher said that he probably would have had Hayward and Amory flip-flopped. The way I understand it, when it comes to sectional seeding, head-to-head is always the first determinant, and Amory and Superior haven't played. Amory beat Hayward, and Hayward beat Superior, so that's an easy 1, 2, 3 right there.
So I think this could very well be a sectional where the number 3 seed goes to state. I mean, like Burglar said, like I said, don't count Superior out. Their record is not the greatest right now. They've been struggling a little bit, but it's right. Superior, Burglar. That's how they roll.
Yeah, we've seen them put it together again at the end, and like they did just beat Hayward 3-0 in Hayward just a week and a half ago.
Yeah, and I think basically this is a 3-team sectional. Amory, Hayward, and Superior. Whoever's playing the best at the end, well, they're going to be the state tournament competitor.
They were 8-13 on the year, but Rice Lake did tie Hayward way back on December 21st, 2-2, and they beat Amory in the season opener. Season opener is probably the least indicative game of the season, but they did beat Amory 2-1 in the season opener, and then a couple weeks later they tied Hayward 2-2. So it's not like Rice Lake in the 4 seed is completely out of it. Their other game with Hayward was a 2-1 loss, so I mean they're right in there.
Okay, we can cover section 2 real easy. Northland Pines. Moving on to section 3.
If you'd like
section
a
2.
preview.
Section 2 is the Great Northern Conference Tournament, like Bill said, plus Marshfield.
Yes.
Marshfield at the 4 seed. Pines won the conference tournament on Saturday by beating number 2 Lakeland 6-0. They weren't.
And they allowed 11 shots.
They weren't challenged in the conference, and I don't think Marshfield is going to challenge them. So we saw this section just played out last week.
Yeah, I was looking through the games from last week, looking for Player of the Week nominees, and I'm like, oh, Brett Wilkins had 2 shutouts. Let's look at his stats. He had faced 13 shots against Mosinee and 11 against Lakeland. Those are the 2 and 3 seeds in this section. No offense to Lakeland, Mosinee, and anybody else in this section, but for Pines to lose, like they need like a bus accident or something.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen, but I agree with you, Junior. Pines, the number 1 seed, head and shoulders above anybody else. Lakeland has been touching I think the bottom of the top 6 in our D2 polls during the year, but Pines, Northern Pines Eagles definitely the heavy favorite in this one.
Yeah, I think we said a couple weeks ago that, had this been just a single division tournament like it was in the past, and sections like they were before, I think this would have been a year, where Pines would have given Wausau West a legitimate run, for the section, in a one division tournament. So in a 2 division, yeah, I think they've got their rooms booked.
It would be silly to think anything different, that they wouldn't have their rooms booked, but there's still a couple games to be played. So,
Yep.
But you got to admit, Pines looks like the very, very grossly overweight favorite to come out of this sectional. Nobody wants to dispute that.
Since you guys have seen them play 2 and 3, Lakeland, Mosinee, who do you think actually has a better chance of making it to the finals to take on Northland Pines in the sectional final?
Well, I see it falling just like the conference tournament did, which, that was Lakeland.
Well, you said Northland Pines played Mosinee, so I said saying, okay, well, Mosinee against Lakeland, does Mosinee have a chance of beating Lakeland there to make it to the finals?
Well, according to the Anago coach, Matt Borneman, Anago is going to beat Mosinee on Thursday, so that's not even an issue.
Because Matt's always been the greatest judge of these things. No, Lakeland. If Lakeland and Mosinee play, that could be a game. They could make a game of that. Mosinee beat Lakeland 3-2 the last time they played. So on the other hand, first time they played, Lakeland won 3-2. So those are 2 evenly matched teams. They're playing for the right to go up to Pines and.
Well, actually, no, the finals in Mosinee.
Oh, okay then, even better for them. They're playing for the right to, for Mosinee to stay home. For Lakeland, they'd probably rather go to Pines. It's a shorter trip.
Let's go on to Section 3. Walden Woodville holds the number 1 seed. River Falls is number 2. And how do you guys see this one here?
This is the Black Hole.
Is this the Section 5 of?
Yes.
This is one that's kind of seldom heard from. Baldwin Woodville has been the last couple of years pretty decent. River Falls has also been a pretty good team in the past, but I have no clue. I don't know who's gonna win this one. Junior?
I don't know who's gonna win. I know who I'm cheering for. That's Somerset, because Coach Dan Gilkerson of Somerset is one of the best coaches out there in terms of like voting on the top 10 every week.
I agree.
He votes on the Wisconsin Prep Hockey Awards every year, although our turnout for the awards is actually pretty good. Dan is always involved and active, so I'm pulling for Somerset, but I have no idea who's going to come out of this section. And like several of these teams have been, just in the recent past, better than they are this year. I mean, West Salem was a state tournament team in the combined sections just a few years ago. Somerset had a really good year just a couple of years ago. Baldwin Woodville had a much better year just a couple of years ago. So in the recent past, several of the teams in this section have been like better than they are this year. So I don't think, as far as the new D1 D2 format, this isn't the best showing that D2 Section 3 could have shown in the last several years.
No, and but I saw number 4 West Salem Bangor play against Rapids a couple days ago, and they didn't look that bad. So I mean, don't count them out. Coach Eric Borey, one of my favorite guys, he's a Rapids guy, works with his team pretty hard. He's a good coach, and I think don't count him out. And as you said, Junior, Somerset number 3, I think there's a definite, probably the champion here is going to be one of the top four. That's, maybe setting myself up for a little whatever, but I think one of the top four is going to win this one.
I mean, just on paper, when it comes to upsets, this section should be wide open.
Well, I mean, just looking at Somerset's schedule, and we talked about Amory earlier. I mean, Somerset lost to Amory 3-2 and 1-0. And they've had, I mean, they beat Wanakee, who's one of our Division II top sixes. They beat them 7-4. They've shown well against other teams that are in this section. So yeah, it's any of those four. I'm not going to pick a favorite.
Section 4, D2, as we move on. Fond du Lac Springs, the number 1 seed. Waupun, number 2. Wanakee, number 3. This is a pretty strong sectional, guys.
It is. I think St. Mary Springs, the number 1 seed, is like here. Waupun is right underneath it. Wanakee is maybe right underneath that, and McFarland number 4. I mean, they're all really close. This is literally, I think, a sectional where, given any given Sunday, as they used to say in the NFL, anybody can win. Now, there's 4 teams here that are pretty tightly bunched, and I guess it just depends on the day.
Well, let's just say it. There are 4 teams here who are in our top 6 in the Division II. I mean, Springs, Waupun, Wanakee, McFarland. That's 1, 4, 5, and 6. So I would say that this section's kind of loaded. This is the section of death, as they say.
I've had the chance to see Wanakee twice this year, and both times I came away pretty impressed with them. They can fill up the net quickly.
That's always been their MO, is they can score a lot of goals, but they don't always do. Ever since the Fords graduated, they don't always do a great job on the D line preventing them.
But I think Fond du Lac Springs, as you look at it, is a little bit more, I would probably say, balanced. But yeah, these are the top 4 teams in this one could, one of those 4 could come out of it. But you got to admit, Fond du Lac Springs is the favorite.
They're the favorite, but I mean, looking at head-to-head, they haven't played McFarland, they haven't played Wanakee. They played Waupun once, and it was a 1-1 tie.
And the 4-5 seed game, I think it's going to be a closer game than what you might think, because Oregon's been playing some tough games late in the season where they've pulled up some wins that you wouldn't think. But yeah, I believe this is one that you can actually run through the numbers. I'm actually got it picked that I believe it's going to be a 1 versus 3 in the in the sectional final and stuff. But it's good. I think all the games should be close in this one. Once you get to that sectional semifinal.
In Oregon at the number 5 seed, I've got a chance to see them play earlier this year, and physical team, they can like to get up and down the ice as well, but not afraid to bang bodies. And they've got that Larry Clemens factor of Larry standing there on the bench and being a former goalie and being a goalie coach. He knows how to prepare goalies, and he will have his goalies ready to go. You can bet on it.
Goalies shouldn't be head coaches.
Oh my goodness, poor Larry. Tell you what, though, you talk about building a name for yourself. He has put together a pretty nice, I don't know if you want to call it a portfolio or resume or whatever of whatever he's got going on there, but his goaltending stuff is very, very good. You guys ready to move on to Section 1 in Division 1?
I was looking for more head-to-head games in that section, but it doesn't look like Wanakee and McFarland have played. Neither of them has played Waupun, and Springs and Waupun played to that tie. So among the top 4 teams in this section, they've only got one head-to-head matchup. So not a lot of data to go on there.
Well, Wanakee and McFarland are one's Badger North, one's Badger South, and they don't always cross over and play each other. So that was probably the factor there.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned goalies. You might want to make note, whether it has any bearing or not, that the Fond du Lac Springs goalie is a freshman. You know, is the pressure going to get to him, or is he going to hold up? He's a big freshman, but
That's a good question. I guess we'll be finding out.
He's looked pretty good throughout the year, so I mean, yeah, it's playoff time, but for the first couple months of the season, he's done a bang up job. So yeah, hard to say. We'll see.
Let's go to Division 1, Section 1. Let's check out the bracket there.
no. Read your notes.
No, my phone reset on me. I had
Girls.
Girls, Sectional 1.
Girls. Okay.
Girls.
All right. Girls preview Section 1. Let's move on. Okay. Here we go, Section 1. And I'm trying to find the bracket here.
You click on the little thing that says bracket. The ECA Stars are 1, St. Croix Valley Fusion 2, Hudson 3, Chippewa Falls, Menominee Sabres 5, and 4, and Hayward 5. Western Wisconsin seemed to have dropped way down this year.
There we go.
Yeah, I was looking at some numbers over the last week, and the St. Croix Valley Fusion might be the worst offensive team to ever be 19-5. They've been ranked all year. Their goals per game is a full goal per game across their whole schedule, lower than any of the other ranked teams. It's more than 2 lower than most of them. If you look at their goals per game against the other ranked teams, it's 1.33. Like they've scored 59 goals on the season, and they sit at 19-5. That is staggering.
How many have they given up?
They have given up on the year 34 goals.
They don't score much. They don't give much
24
up.
In 24 games, they've given up 34 goals. That's 1.42 goals against. That's how they're 19-5. They might be the best, if not the best, best or the second best defensive team in the state, but they cannot score.
Junior, you've got it right there. What's the most goals they've given up in a game?
I don't have their schedule up in front of me. The most I see in their games against the top 10 was 4. The Fox City Stars scored 4 on them on December 13th.
So that means
and for my money, the Fox City Stars are the best offensive team in the state. So take that for what it's worth. Eau Claire area is a very balanced team at the number 1 seed. They do have a loss to the Fusion. The Fusion are 1-5 in their 6 games against the top 6 other teams. So the current top 6 plus Rock County Fury. They're 1-5 in those games with that 1 win coming against Eau Claire area. So it's not unheard of them for them to win here. But I don't know, that offense, 59 goals on the year. I mean, the Metro Lynx scored 131 goals this year. Central Wisconsin scored 101. The Fox City Stars are at 111, and the Fusion are down at 59. That's to go 19-5 while scoring 59 goals in a 24-game schedule is just amazing.
But I actually got to see them play against Cap City, and that was a 2-1 loss to Cap City. Cap City struggles scoring a lot of goals per game also. But, I mean, they're defense is what's going to win for them. They beat, as you said, on January 14th, they beat the Eau Claire Stars 2-0. And then after that, they had two games the rest of the season in which they gave up more than one goal a game. They beat North St. Paul Tartan 4-3, and they beat Onalaska 7-2. An 8-1 win over Red Wing, and actually they had a 2-0 loss to the Stars on January 14th, and on February 4th beat the Stars 3-0. So,
I think a lot of the in this bracket, Eau Claire area's number 1 seed. They get a bye. They have to face the winner of Hayward, Chippewa Falls. To me, I find it kind of weird that Chip Falls is a 4 seed and Hayward is a 5 seed. I've seen Hayward play a couple of times. They got a pretty good team. I didn't think Chip Falls was better, but the seeding process apparently is so. And on the bottom half, Hudson number 3 against the Western Wisconsin Stars. Hudson has been pretty good throughout the year. Fusion. So basically, Fusion and Hudson on the bottom half. I think it just depends on how Hayward or Chip Falls play against Eau Claire area. There could be an upset there. Both of those have good teams. Eau Claire area has struggled at times. Oh, go ahead, Del.
The reason that the CFM's got the 4 over the 5 is a 6-5 victory over Hayward. They're only meeting this year.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Sometimes I think the head-to-head are overrated, but not always.
No, head-to-head is the most important factor. Everything else is, as they say, on paper. These were games that were actually settled on the ice.
Right, but if this game happened on November 31st...
Makes no difference. First game of the year, last game of the year. It's head-to-head.
Okay.
All the games count.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Any league, any sport you name, first tiebreaker is always head-to-head because that's the most important criteria. Head-to-head competition. Hands down.
Well, that's what they say.
That's what apparently everybody but you says.
Yeah, well, I might be an expert on it. Anyway, Eau Claire area's got the number 1 seed. Fusion got number 2. Most likely, that's going to be your sectional final. But Hayward, Chip Falls could maybe throw a wrench into that on the top half of the bracket. Hard to say.
Well, and Hudson always gets bonus points because they're a single school. Just throwing that out there.
Hudson did beat Chippewa Falls earlier.
Well, that's why Hudson is the 3 seed.
Okay, you guys ready to move on to Section 2? Section 2, here we go. Central Wisconsin Storm, the number 1 seed. The Fox City Stars, number 2.
Yeah, the Bay Area Ice Bears are 3rd. This section is a whole lot better than it used to be. It used to be just the Storm and then
everybody else.
A collection of small Northwood schools that really had no prayer against the Storm. Now the Stars and the Icebergs are in here, or Ice Bears are in here because of the shrinking, unfortunately, of girls hockey. They had to realign the sections a little. So at least there's some competition for the Storm. The Storm and Stars just played a 6-5 overtime game on, I think it was Saturday, this last week. So like I said earlier, for my money, the Fox City Stars are the best offensive team in the state. The Storm don't have a lot of goal scorers, but they do score a fair amount of goals, comparatively speaking, with the rest of the girls in the state. Strong defense, average goaltending. So Storm and the Stars could be a shootout. The the bugaboo for both those teams is that their goalies are average at best. Whereas Cap City, down in Madison has a phenomenal goalie. Rock County's got a phenomenal goalie. Metro Lynx have a good goalie. On the other end, the St. Croix Valley Fusion have a phenomenal goalie. So, 1 and 2 in this section is all about offense, average goalies, good defense.
What could throw a wrench in this one, though, is that goalie for the number 5 seed, Pistol Cowden. She's posted quite a few 1-0 games this year where she's either been on the losing side of a 1-0 loss or on the winning side. Wisconsin Valley doesn't score a lot of goals, I don't believe. But, Pistol Cowden's one that's going to be able to keep them in a game every time she takes the ice.
Dell, I was going to just mention that as well. Find it kind of surprising that the Wisconsin Valley Union is a number 5 seed. And I know Burglar is going to say, well, head-to-head, this is and that and the other thing. Well, they got Pistol. If they don't allow any goals, all they got to do is score 1. So, yeah, it could be, they'll get to probably the, right here, you'll see it, they'll get to the sectional semifinal probably, and then I guess it's just up to how they do against the DC Everest Co-op, commonly known as the Central Wisconsin Storm. On the bottom half, the Bay Area Ice Bears have been playing pretty well lately. So they're the number 3 seed. Fox Cities is number 2. There could be a surprise down there, but I'm inclined to believe that Fox Cities at the number 2 is going to get to the sectional championship.
I take umbrage with you saying that the Wisconsin Valley Union will probably get to the Wisconsin Valley Union will probably get to the sectional semifinal. I know the Northland Pines girls are your mortal enemies. And they have been since your daughter played, but they played the Union once this year. They played to a 2-2 tie, and they outshot them 40-24. That's putting a lot on Pistol Cowden to say that the Union will probably get to the sectional semifinal. That's a lot. I know Pines is your mortal enemies, but 40-24 in terms of puck possession is an ass kicking. And the only reason that game was close was because of Pistol Cowden. So to say they'll probably make the sectional final, I think, is a bit much.
All right, true, but at what point in the season was that game? Was it in December
January
3rd?
7th. January 7th, so second half of the season.
Yeah. Well, I
And the Union
Valley Union, they're not a big.
The Union didn't win any of their next 4 games. They tied the Lightning, they lost to the Edge, they lost to Bay Area, and they lost to Brackett River Falls. That was their next 4 games after that game against Pines.
All right, we'll see. I know Pistol, she's a great goalie. I think she steps up and surprises everybody.
I stopped at those 4 because the 5th game was a 3-2 win over Fox Cities, who I just said was the best offensive team in the state.
I was just up in Antigo for the Northern Edge game against Chippewa Falls Menominee, and I was talking to Mrs. Kabaki. She's the mother of Kelly Levesque, one of the coaches for the Edge. And, we're talking about the playoffs. And the Edge started out as just Antigo and Rhinelander. Well, now it's also got Minocqua, or Lakeland and Tomahawk in there, too. So it is 4 schools. And, she was under the impression that the girls were doing divisions, too. And I said, no, there's only 28 teams. There's just one division. Well, who do we play first? Well, it's the Bay Area. Well, which Green Bay area schools are in that? And it's like all of them. And if you win that one, then you get to play against the Fox Cities, which is like all of the Appleton, Oshkosh, all of the Fox Valley area teams. And if you win that one, well, you get the whole, Wausau metro area teams. So, yeah. Mega co-ops. Gotta love them.
But like you said, David, it's Anago, Rhinelander, Lakeland, and Tomahawk now. I mean, just 3 years ago, that was 3 teams. And then Lakeland Tomahawk joined, and now that's part of the Edge. I mean, that's the way it's going. Everybody here except for Pines. I think Pines is with 3 Lakes, which is, 1 or 2 kids maybe? But everybody here is like 2,500 students plus.
Okay, guys. I guess you guys have had your fill of Section 2. So let's go on to Section 3, where the Metro Lynx, more or less the Madison area, is up next. The Metro Lynx number 1 seed, Cap City Cougars number 2, and the Onalaska Hilltoppers are number 3.
Well, if the Metro Lynx are the Madison area, what are the Cap City Cougars?
Sun Prairie, Wanakee, DeForest.
That's not Madison area?
Yeah.
They would be the northwestern suburbs.
But when you look at the first round of games that's going on in here, I think the most interesting game you're going to see is that 4 or 5 seed. I mean, you got 2 of the top goalies going to be facing off against each other in that one, Black River Falls and Viroqua. You got Matheson for Black River Falls, and you've got Severson for Viroqua, and they're 2 very good goalies. So, that's going to be a hard-fought game. We know that the Icebergs and Badger Lightning are both teams that have struggled all season for the last couple of years. And so you look at Onalaska Cap City moving on there, but that Onalaska Cap City game is going to be another low-scoring but very good game. Onalaska just knocked off Cap City here recently. And then you got the Lynx against whoever comes out of that first one. But so I'm actually thinking there's a good chance of this going 1-2 into the sectional semifinals, and then that one's the rubber match between those 2 teams this season.
And you look here, Dell, that you're looking at the Tigers and Blackhawk playing in that 4-5 game, and then you're looking at the winner gets the Lynx, and that team also has good goaltending. So you would expect that team that wins that 4-5 probably isn't going to get a whole lot of goals scored in their round 2 game either.
Well, here's your problem in that game. Metro Lynx, number 1 seed, versus either Viroqua or Black River Falls. Both good goaltending, but Metro Lynx will definitely score some goals, so they're at the advantage there. On the bottom half, Cap City Cougars, Jeff Thornton, he doesn't like it when we put him up too high in the rankings, so maybe we'll knock him down a little bit. But Onalaska's been playing pretty well. So bottom half of the bracket, I mean, who knows, right? 2 or 3, Sun Prairie or Onalaska. Middleton has been tough all year. I've heard that Middleton is probably one of the kind of the teams that will sneak up on you during the year. Well, they really haven't. They've just been really good. I kind of like Middleton, Metro Lynx to go to Sectional 3 championship.
Have you suddenly become Tom Shafransky of the WIAA? Sun Prairie, Middleton? What the hell are you talking about?
Okay, Metro Lynx versus Cap City Cougars.
Yeah, thank you.
I think, all right, Metro Lynx. I'm going to send Metro Lynx to the state tournament this year. Boys.
I have a big ass spreadsheet in front of me that I compiled over the last week that says that the Cap City Cougars and Madison Metro Lynx are the 2 best girls teams in the state. And that the Cap City Cougars, when you combined shot prevention and goaltending, are the best defensive team in the state. That said, the Lynx are still my choice on this one because They have a high-powered offense. They have a very good defense in their own right. And the Cougars have had, in my mind, too many games where they've been shut out. They just got shut out by, obviously, our player of the week. Rock County just shut them out, 38 shots. They got shut out by Onalaska just a week before. That was 28 or 29 shots. They can have trouble scoring at times, which you can have an amazing defense. You still have to put the puck into the net, and Madison Metro Lynx do both. There's the Cap City Cougars. Their offense isn't as anemic as like the St. Croix Valley Fusion, but it's not at the same level as the Metro Lynx, whereas the Lynx's defense is at least comparable to that the Cougars have.
So basically, you're saying Metro Lynx, you get the nod, and Jeff Thornton, as much as you want to be there, might not be.
Well, plus I think Jeff wants us to pick against him anyway.
I mean,
Now,
the Metro Lynx have only been shut out one time this year, and that was way back on December 21st. So as Trasher says, that doesn't even count anymore.
Now, Junior, I don't know if you have it in front of you or not, but I believe if the Lynx win this sectional, would that be their first trip to state?
Off the top of my head, the answer is yes, but I don't have that in front of me.
I think that's yes.
I know they came real close a couple times back in the dominant Onalaska days, but I don't think they ever actually cracked it.
The one year that Rock County went, they beat the Lynx in overtime to go. So, no, they haven't been there yet. But this may be their year.
Speaking of Rock County, are we ready to go to Sectional 4, MJ?
Sure. And we move on to...
He said enthusiastically.
All right, well, let's move on to Section 4. Computer, please work.
MJ doesn't want to talk about his home section where his home girls team is the number 1 seed and the runaway favorite.
So this is the Beloit Memorial Co-op, as Tom Shafransky would say.
MJ calls it the Janesville Co-op.
Actually, I call it a great bunch of kids because they really are. And, they've put together a nice team and put together a nice season, played a tough schedule.
MJ, you're breaking this one down for us, this bracket?
Whoa, you're asking a lot. All right, well, now why won't this work for me?
Hard to say.
I'm clicking where it says click. See,
He's not breaking it down.
The Rock County Fury is the top seed. Second seed is the Fondy Warbird Co-op. Third is the Arrowhead Warhawk. 5 is USM Wildcats. Or 4 is the USM Wildcats. 5 is the Lakeshore Lightning. 6 is the Brookfield Glacier. 7 is I believe that's Beaver Dam Golden Beavers.
Okay.
There you go.
I did have the chance to see the Warbirds this year against Rock County. And the Warbirds just didn't have the bodies to stay with them. I mean, it was a close game, but the Fury just pounded them with shots. But their goaltender for the Warbirds played phenomenal in that game, but Rock County got like a 3-1 win in that game. But, those two teams wouldn't meet until the sectional final, and, there's still going to be some hockey to be played because the Warhawks, as we see, have put together a nice season, and the Warbirds will have to go through them. And there's no guarantee the Fury will get past the USM Co-op or the Lakeshore Lightning. So
yeah, the shots were 33-19 in that game.
Yeah, this is another one that's kind of like that boys section that we mentioned. I think it was section 3, where just a couple of years ago, like USM and the Fondy Warbird Co-op were way better than they are now. They're still good, obviously, 2 seed, 4 seed, but just a couple of years ago, this would have been a much more interesting section.
Well, the thing the Fury has going for them, they have plenty of offense, and now with goaltending starting to shine a little bit more, they've got, they can keep the puck out of their own net. So, they've earned the number 1 seed, but coming through, this isn't going to be easy. But number 1 seed, it's theirs, and it's there for the taking.
Well, and their goaltending really kind of saved them there in the Badger Conference. That 3-2 win they had over the Metro Lynx right at the start of February, they gave up 31 shots in that game.
Mm-hmm.
The 1-0 win they just had over Cap City, they 38 shots in that game they gave up. So their goaltending has really stepped up in a big way for them, and good goalies go a long way in the playoffs. I see that Trasher's blip is missing at the moment, so he can't hear me say that, because I'm sure he would want to talk about Pistol Cotton again.
And, of course, we are all pulling for the Rock County Fury for the state tournament, because we know what that means. That means 5 bands. Each school in that co-op will send their band, and you get a battle of the bands before the game, during all the intermissions. The sorry old clamshell comes to life when you put 5. And if their opponent brings a band too, you got 6 bands in there, and that makes for a rockin' good time.
Rock County Fury may bring more than 4 or 5 with all the co-op schools they have in theirs.
It's nice to see Arrowhead is good again. What are they, the 3 seed?
3.
Because it was just a few years ago they were like winning 2-3 games a year.
And they have pretty uniforms.
Arrowhead beat the Fury this year.
Mm-hmm.
Arrowhead beat the Fury this year.
Well, I think that goes a long way towards their seed, because they are technically, once you factor in ties, they are below 500 on the year as a 3 seed. So, but they have had some nice games against some good teams. So it's nice to see them good again, because they had some rough years there.
Unless in that game, the Brookfield Glacier, unless Hadley Malcolmson has the game of her life. In that,
well, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen that in the playoffs from a Star Girls player.
Yeah. Teresa Knutson, to name one. All right, you guys ready to move on to the boys Division 1?
Sure.
All right, let's go boys Division 1. Section 1.
Murderers Row.
Oh. This is where last team standing. Man, talk about having to run the table. Hudson, number 1 seed. Number 2, Wausau West. Number 3, Chi High. Number 4, Onalaska Lacrosse. Spash and Rapids play Hudson. Wausau West plays the winner of DC Everest and Northwest. Eau Claire North and Ashland move on to play Chippewa Falls. That's how this one's starting out.
Yeah, looking at this, unless I'm mistaken, Hudson, Wausau West, and Onalaska were all in the state tournament last year.
I believe you're right.
So there's 3 state tournament teams in this one division. Spash played for...
Wait, what was Eau Claire Memorial not in it?
Last year,
no.
Eau Claire North and Hayward played in the final. Yeah,
Eau
Claire North.
We still okay. There's still four teams in the state. Half of the state tournament last year
is in this one division.
Yes.
Half of last year's state tournament is in this one section, and Spash was a sectional finalist. Eau Claire Memorial wasn't. They got beat by Hayward. Hayward's in the other division. So, I mean, that's 5 teams that were 1 game away from going to state, or in state, all in this one division. Then you had DC Everest, who was in state 2 years ago. The state tournament, I don't remember.
Michael Yankee.
Yep. Eau Claire Memorial, who is a perennial state tournament goer. Yeah, this is
Spash has
is,
been, there
yeah.
from time to time.
This is kind of a murderer's row of teams. Like, I mean, this is brutal. I pulled it up because Hudson is the number 1 seed. They have 3 losses in Wisconsin this year, and they're all kind of hilarious to me. They ended their season with a loss to Eau Claire Memorial, where they outshot Eau Claire 42-17, and somehow they managed to lose. Their first loss of the season was to Notre Dame Academy, who they outshot 16-9. They held Notre Dame Academy to 9 shots and still lost that game 2-0.
16-9.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Their second loss of the season was a 4-3 loss to Chippewa Falls, where they outshot them 45-12. So on paper, Hudson, the one against Notre Dame, not domination, but they controlled most of that game. But the other two, Hudson dominated the games and still managed to lose, which will happen. You'll run into games where you just can't put the puck in the net. But oof, I mean that's a strong season they had. They just beat Wausau West. They just kind of spanked University School 6-2. Hudson is a real strong team, and if they come out of here, it'll be their 5th straight trip to Madison. But it'll be much more impressive coming out of this division. Although not that much more impressive. It's not like it was a division before.
And then just on this one, Onalaska was at state last year also.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
Okay, I missed that one.
Yeah. Hudson, Wausau West, Onalaska, and Eau Claire North were all state tournament teams last year. That's just... Thanks, Tom. So, yeah, this one, Hudson and Wausau West should be the favorites, but hell if I know.
Look at that top bracket, though. Spash Rapids, Eau Claire Memorial, and Onalaska.
What kind of bracket do you have to put Spash as an 8 seed?
Spash just hasn't been that good this year.
Well, I don't know that they'd be an 8 seed in any other bracket.
Yeah. You look at that top part of that. I mean, Onalaska, lacrosse Eau Claire Memorial and Onalaska could meet in the sectional final. I mean, semifinal. This regional final.
They should. In this one, in some other brackets, I could see upsets. I don't see the 9, 12, 13, 10, and 11. I don't see them winning in this one specifically. So in that second round, there's a lot of potential for upsets. Spash beating Hudson would not be the 8 beating 1 would not be the craziest thing I've seen this year. Onalaska and Eau Claire Memorial would be a fantastic game. Eau Claire North and Chippewa Falls would be a fantastic game. West and Everest have already played twice this year, but I don't have it up in front of me how they did against each other. But the last several years, they've been playing pretty close games against each other. West usually coming out on top, but not always.
Is this the most exciting bracket of them all?
I would think so. I mean, it contains half of last year's state tournament.
Yeah, West won both of those games against Everest. The most recent one was at the end of January, where they won 1-0. So it's not out of the question.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think any of the first round games are going to be terribly exciting, but rounds 2, 3, and 4 in this bracket should all be just great. Like if the whole tournament looked like this bracket, I think we'd all be a lot happier.
I can't wait to see how this bracket ends up coming to the sectional semifinal week. That's going to be pretty fun to see who gets out of this whole week altogether. Division 1 boys bracket. Let's go back to it. Let's go back to let's move to section number 2. And Notre Dame Academy, number 1 seed. Fond du Lac, the Cardinals are number 2. Neenah, number 3, and Bayport, number 4. We haven't heard a lot about Neenah in the last month, have we? They were last year's state runner-up.
Yeah, they started off pretty hot. They were ranked, but then they fell out and they never managed to claw their way back in. I don't think they quite have the punch that they had. They've still got Jake Mork in net, and he's still doing his thing back there, but I don't think they quite have the offensive punch that they've had the last couple of years.
Interesting one as I look here is going to be when you figure round 2 is going to be, well, round 3 will be good between Notre Dame and Bayport because those two teams go at it pretty good, provided they both make it, which they should, but funnier things happen.
Well, we can talk about the Fondy Cardinals, who started out. I mean, they've always been one of the top teams. They generally get invited to those top tournaments at the beginning of the season, Showdown in Titletown, that kind of stuff. They got off to a slow start, but they've been playing better of late. I think that they did lose the conference championship to Fond du Lac Springs, but Fond du Lac Springs has got a very good, very sound team. But I think the Fondy Cardinals have been kind of they got a young team and they've just kind of been growing into themselves this year, and they could be peaking at the right time.
And you would look on that side, that end of that bottom part there, and you would see Nina and Fond du Lac meeting there. That could make for a very good, interesting game as well, that being a 2 and a 3 seed. But guys, I think at the end of the day, it would still be Notre Dame's bracket to lose. I mean,
yeah, they are heavy favorites in this bracket.
That's why you want that's what the number 1 seed says. It's that we should win this. If we don't win this, something must have gone wrong.
Well, yes, that's true.
I'm kind of interested in if De Pere gets past Bayport, De Pere and Bayport, because they've played twice this year. The first game they were even, 25 shots apiece. De Pere actually won the game 3-2. Second game, shots were a little lower. It was 23-20 in Bayport's favor, but somehow they won 9-0.
What?
What happened?
What?
Yeah,
how do you score 9 goals on 23 shots?
I don't know. The shots were even up 25-25, and it was a 3-2 game the first time. And the second time, shots were 23-20, and they won 9-0. Like, what happened?
That's a good question.
Yeah, like De Pere's goalie got pulled after, I believe their starter got pulled after 9 shots and 5 goals against. And then the backup came in and faced 14 shots and stopped 10 of them. I mean, I don't know if it was just one of those days or what, but so I want to see the rematch.
I want to know what happened in that game with Madison Edgewood. Well, we can get Madison Edgewood and Wausau West. We can probably talk about that when we get to the next sectional, but they just played Saturday and Edgewood had 52. West had 52 shots on goal and Edgewood had 41. I mean, were they playing 3-on-3 hockey or what? How do you get that many? How do you get that many shots? Usually, if one team has 52 shots, that's because they spent the whole time in the other team's zone. But it was 52-41. Anyway, we'll talk about that if we get to once we get to the other section.
Or was it a squirt parent keeping track of shots? Think about it. Squirt parents, anything near the net.
It was 7-4 was the game. I mean, goals were scored. It wasn't just shots. I mean, goals were scored.
Yeah, 11 goals on 93 shots. That's close to 90%.
Did Adam Prokop play?
Yes.
He gave up 6 goals.
Wow.
And then an empty netter.
Anyway.
Yeah, there's something went down that day. Like, I don't know if they were all hopped up on energy drinks or what.
Ooh.
Hey, we could talk. That'll lead us right in, since we're talking about Madison Edgewood. That'll lead us right into Section 3 there, NJ. Why don't you go ahead, take it to Section 3.
Section 3, Verona, number 1 seed. No surprise there. Number 2, Madison Edgewood. Number 3, Sun Prairie. Number 4, Sauk Prairie.
And I have a hard time with this. For whatever reason, it's always been this way. When I'm typing on a keyboard, I have a really hard time typing the word prairie. Just the combination of letters, the A-I-R-A-I, I can't type the word prairie, so that's my contribution.
Verona looking to play the winner of Baraboo and Madison Memorial. Madison West and DeForest play, Sauk Prairie and the Lakers play. Those two teams will meet in the second round, which winners of those two games will meet in the second round. Sun Prairie is going to meet the winner of Middleton and Thomas Sparta. And RWD is going to meet should move on. Well, they play Monroe. They should move on. Madison Edgewood, the number 2 seed.
Well, if
all I looked at 7 and 10.
Sun Prairie actually ended up playing Sauk Prairie, Burglar would be pretty much screwed here. Verona, the number 1 seed, they've been, they've been up and down. You've watched them throughout the year. They were really good at the beginning of the year, then they struggled a little bit, and then they kind of have played better. Edgewood, I think, has improved a lot. Sun Prairie has been good, and then you're looking at number 4. Who's number 4? Sauk Prairie. Sauk Prairie hasn't really got a lot of publicity, but they've had a really good season. I mean, if you look at their record, and you could argue, well, they haven't played the best teams or whatever, but they still have a really good record. And with Dave Lowry as the coach, he's an awesome guy. Does a great job of coaching. He's coaching the juniors and the college level, so he knows what he's doing. Madison West at the number 5 is pretty good too. So I think potentially Madison West at 5 and Sauk Prairie at number 4 could be a pretty good combination there. Sun Prairie's been good. Edgewood has been good. I don't know. Normally you would think Verona, Edgewood, and Sun Prairie 1, 2, and 3 would be the teams to really watch during this. But not to say that there couldn't be an upset, but there could be an upset here somewhere.
Madison West at number 5. I've seen Madison West play twice, and they're a pretty good team. The thing is, they remind me so much of Steve Leibert's old Middleton teams. And we knew how Steve Leibert's old Middleton teams play. They've taken that approach to Madison West, and they come out and they're competitive from the start to beginning. And Madison West is one of those teams I just say don't sleep on them because they may surprise you.
And it is okay to say Sun Prairie and Middleton here, Trasher.
They're both Cardinals.
Right, and I guess I overlooked Middleton at the number 6 because they've been very good too. And as MJ has said, and I think even though the Leiberts have moved on, Middleton is still a defensive squad. They have a goalie, and then they put 3 or 4 players in the crease and then dare you to shoot. You don't score many goals against this team. They don't score many goals, but it'll be between them and Sun Prairie. Sun Prairie, I think this year is a little bit better, so I give them the edge in this contest.
That's how Fond du Lac used to play. You find a goalie and then just put all your defensive zone players like in the crease to force you to shoot outside. It must be a Cardinals thing.
Trying to get a look here at Middleton's season. They went 14 and 10 on the season.
Yeah, I'm sure that we're over exaggerating a little bit, but you can really camp those defensive players down into the slot crease area and definitely make it tough for a team to score, especially if your team is not a huge offensive scoring team.
Middleton scored 87 goals this year. Their opponents have scored 81. Their goaltending's been .898, and their opponents have been .895. They've played pretty even with a lot of teams. They play in a tough conference.
Is anybody going to defend Monroe after MJ's thrashing of them by almost? You said that RWD was going to move on before you even said who they were playing.
The RWD should move on. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. They're the number 7 seed.
I know your mouth just got ahead of your brain. That happens to all of us. We misspeak, but I mean that was the only game like through the entire bracket so far where you've mentioned one team will move on before you actually said both teams' names.
But you know what though? I just made for billboard material for Monroe, didn't I?
Well, the thing is after Monroe, their coach came on and talked with us as our guest. You look at their second half of their season, and they've struggled the second half of the season.
We cursed them.
Is it the Wisconsin Prep Hockey jinx?
Basically, after January 7th, they've won 2 games and tied 1, and then picked up 6 losses, 2-6-1.
2-6-2. They have 2 ties.
2-6-2. Okay.
Yeah.
But so you look at their 2 ties were against Stoughton and Milton. They struggled the second half, but well,
2 of those losses were to Madison Edgewood.
So,
to be fair.
Then the other thing is to going. They're coming to play at RWD at Racca, which MJ can tell you it's a cold rink. But
is it?
But the other thing is RWD isn't been no juggernaut out on the ice this year either. I mean, they're a sub 500 record, and I would. While I picked RWD to win this game, I would not be totally shocked to see it go the other way.
Coach Matson's going to take away your Twitter handle if you keep talking like that. Dale is at Reedsburg Sports for anybody that's listening.
So which one of those 2 teams will move on and play Madison Edgewood?
I actually believe RWD will move on to play Madison Edgewood, and then they'll have to go down to the LeBon Arena, and I've seen RWD play Edgewood there one time, but that was years ago when Colin was still playing high school hockey, and you figure he's 24 now. No, he's older than 25, somewhere in there.
Now, look here, Middleton will move on and play Sun Prairie. So there's 2 conference rivals. That would make for a good matchup. The Lakers and Sauk Prairie, you figure probably Sauk Prairie will get through that one. And then take on Madison West. That'll be a good matchup. So you could be looking at 1, 2, 3 Big 8 teams in the Final Four of this bracket.
Well, I actually think that Sauk Prairie will move on to play and be meeting Verona. I've actually got 1, 2, 3, and 4 making it up there to the semifinals. Sauk Prairie's offense, they've got Riley Jelinek, who you guys have seen his numbers, and I want to say one of the other players is DeRoches, Desroches. But 2 good offensive players that and I see them moving past Madison West.
Well, that's it's time to put up then, because do those players? I mean, those players are among the scoring leaders in the state. Among the boys' teams. So are they padding their stats against weak teams, or can they score against good teams too? Now is the time to stand up and say, yeah, no, we are leading the team and leading the state in scoring because we're just that good and we can score on anybody.
And then let's move on to section number 4. And there it is. Number 1 seed is Arrowhead, the Warhawks. Number 2, USM, a couple of Classic 8 teams. Number 3, KMMO. And number 4, Milwaukee Marquette. So it's all Milwaukee area teams for the top 4. of Section 4.
Well, you didn't say that right, MJ. It's number 1 is the undefeated Arrowhead Warhawks. They
That's
haven't
true.
lost
They
this
have
year.
2 ties.
They have two
They have
ties,
2 ties.
1-1 and 0-0. Yeah, they have not been beaten this year.
Okay.
And they are the only team in the state to have not been beaten this year. So there's that. Junior?
Yes.
Were
Were you waiting me to point out that they played the 27th toughest schedule in the state this year?
Maybe.
I was going to ask Del what their opponent's winning percentage was.
No, they're a very good team, and as I am compiling the end of season awards for Wisconsin prep hockey coaches are sending in their votes, it's obvious that many of the coaches respect a lot of Arrowhead's players because they're doing pretty well. I don't know where things stand at the moment. I haven't created the total column in my sheet. I don't create that until the very end because I kind of like to know how it's going, but I keep seeing some of their names appearing on ballots. So the coaches know what's up. Same for USM. Coaches from all over the state know that these both have some very good players on these two teams.
Guys, I'm heading to Vegas, and I'm putting $1 down on Kenosha winning it all.
You could win $25,000 with that bet.
Hey,
Your odds aren't great.
You're really going to Vegas, and we're going to be here covering high school hockey? What the hell's up with that? Come on.
No, I wish. That. You see how that worked for me 3 years ago.
Well,
when Kenosha came to town, when I was like, oh, well, I'm going to Vegas. See you guys. See you in the next round, Janesville. And what happened? They got beat by Kenosha. But that was 3 years ago.
KMMO and USM, did they play this year?
Yes. USM beat KMMO 5-3. KMMO actually outshot them 22-17. Arrowhead beat KMMO 5-2. Again, KMMO outshot them 25-24. That game featured several power play goals. Same for the USM game. So it's, given the power plays and the shot totals, it's kind of hard to see if those two teams really are, 2 and 3 goals better than KMMO. But they were both close games. KMMO led in shots. If they stay out of the box, KMMO could shock a lot of people and come out of here. They've had a very nice, very under the radar season. They haven't gotten a lot of. I don't think they've gotten any push in the top 6 this year. But before the sectional seeding meetings, I put together a composite ranking for the coaches that took all 4 computer rankings that are on Wisconsin Prep Hockey, 1 through 83 or 84, however many teams we have, and compiled them into one aggregate rating. And I was shocked at just how high KMMO was. They were in the top 12, I think, and Milwaukee Marquette was 15th. So you're looking at all 4 teams, the top 4 teams in this section are in the top 15 in the state. That's kind of a lot. That's probably
the second
right up there with
bracket.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise you're looking at Notre Dame, Fondy, Nina, Bayport. I think falls farther down than that. So yeah, it's probably the top 4 is probably the second strongest in the state. One of the things that shocked me about that composite ranking was that the computer rankings, they're generally in the same area, but they don't always agree. But they all agreed that Marquette was number 15. All 4 rankings had Marquette at 15. And that's another team that we haven't heard a lot about. I mean, 15, if we're doing a top 10 in boys D1 and D2, 15 might crack the top 10 or the honorable mention. I mean, so that's Marquette and KMMO have not gotten a lot of pub this year, but they've had very nice seasons.
Well, don't let Joe Lorado loose in the slot. Right, MJ?
That's right.
No, that's
He'll
Marquette
beat you
hockey.
every single time.
That's damn right. Come on.
Unfortunately for Marquette, he graduated like 7 years ago.
Yeah, he sure did. But that was one guy you just didn't want to leave alone in the slot because he will bury it. Okay, guys. Well, we look here.
We can't move on if we don't talk about Homestead. Jeff Rashawn will yell at us.
Why would he yell at us about Homestead?
Isn't that where he is?
No, he's an Arrowhead
He's
guy.
Arrowhead.
Oh, never mind then.
Well, that's what we have to pick. We have to pick.
I always get Arrowhead and Homestead confused.
We have to pick somebody to upset. We have to pick somebody else to come out of this tournament, out of this section.
This is the traditional upset section.
Yes, we have to pick somebody other to give him some bulletin board material. So obviously we're going to give this one to USM then, right?
And it's probably been a while since Arrowhead was the number 1 seed. So, I mean, they've had a great year. They have not taken a loss. They have 2 ties and I believe 21 wins. They've had a great season. But then when it gets down to the nitty-gritty against USM or KMMO here in the finals, it'll be a tough challenge for them. But
and I wanted to say that Arrowhead has a great season, but they haven't strayed too far from the Milwaukee area. But then as they look at their schedule, I mean they did beat Eau Claire Memorial 4-3. Mm-hmm. They did beat Verona. They did.
I think it's 5-2, something like that.
They did. So they have the times that they have gone out of the area, they've been successful. They did beat Fond du Lac 7-4. So yeah, they tied Fondy Springs. So I mean, they have when they have gone out of their area, out of the Milwaukee area, they've been successful. So you can't just say they've stayed in their own little area there.
Well, they did come to Janesville and they put a hurting on Janesville. I was at that game.
Yeah, there was that stretch, I think, from basically December 11th through January 23rd. That 10, 11 game section of Arrowhead's schedule just wasn't impressive, and that probably prevented their rise in the rankings as quickly as they should have been, given that they finished the season 22-0-2. That gap there didn't do them any favors because, before that they played Springs, Eau Claire Memorial, and KMMO, a tie and 2 wins. And then after that, they had Fondy, Verona University School. And those were all wins. So, there's that gap in the middle kind of hurt them when it came to their actual ranking in the top 6.
Well, yeah, and I agree with that. But, I mean, let's face it, they have 0 losses. No other team in the state, boys or girls, has 0 losses. So let's give them a little credit for that.
Oh, nobody's taking that away. They've got 0 losses. They're the number 1 seed in their section.
We're just trying to come up with reasons, as to not pick them. Just for Jeff Rashawn's benefit. And you could say, the searchers all say they'd have beat Whitefish Bay if they'd put 15 more miles behind them. But then who would do that?
But that's the wrong Whitefish Bay. That was up in Michigan. So a little bit different, but, I get it. When I first heard the song, I thought it was Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin, too, but apparently not.
How did they do when Arrowhead played Marquette? Now that's a conference game. How did they do against Homestead? That would be a conference game. And how did they do against Brookfield? They would have
They opened the season against Homestead and spanked them 9-0.
Okay.
Then beat Marquette 4-3.
Yes.
Okay.
Looks like they only play their
play each
conference
other once.
They play each other once in conference.
Yeah, and then they should have a conference tournament after that. Set that up next year, Jeff.
Well, Carl.
So, yeah, you're figuring that probably when you look here at the bottom, Waukesha isn't the juggernaut that it has been. Garrett Larson graduated. He was the heart and soul of that team last year. They take on the Ice Force, and the winner gets USM. And then the other part of that bracket, as KMMO number 3, they're going to play the winner of WNS in Milton. And, KMMO and USM should be a very good game, I would think.
Yeah, this is a surprisingly deep bracket. I think this bracket's usually, this would have been Section 8 in the old bracketing. Fondy Springs was part of this one. So it was usually a fairly deep bracket. And I think that continued well. It's a good one. I think, like we said earlier, this is probably top to bottom the second toughest behind Division 1 or behind Section 1 in Division 1. And yeah.
Who muted him?
I don't know. You cut out.
Who muted Junior, or did he mute himself?
Skype doesn't like me.
You muted yourself so you couldn't be quoted on that.
Anyway, I think we're about done with this one.
Yep.
And that was the last of them, wasn't it? Yes, it was.
So next week we'll have a whole nother round of things to talk about. As next Monday we'll be getting into sectional play, and some of these teams will be here, and some of these teams won't.
Well, at least half of them won't.
Well, as we're looking at this, though, I think the one thing to remember is, for all those players that are taking the ice, you got a bunch of seniors that'll be playing their last games this week.
Yeah, don't do anything stupid.
Don't be knuckleheads.
All of you enjoy your time out there, and like Burglar and Junior said, play the game the right way. Don't do anything stupid. Just enjoy it. Unfortunately, not everybody's going to win their final game of the season. One team will, out of each of these divisions. So, good luck.
The one thing before we sign off, guys, the one thing I did notice as we look here, you look at the sectional semi and sectional final. Look at the locations. They are all to be determined, which hasn't necessarily been that way the last.
No, they're not all to be determined. I just missed this one on Section 4.
Okay, but I'm talking the section final.
Never mind.
They're determined.
They're all determined.
They're determined?
Yes.
It's at the Ponds of Brookfield.
I was going to say the WIA figured something out, but I guess not.
No, they're all determined. Apparently I missed Section 3 and Section 4.
And Section 3 is actually being played at Madison Ice Arena on that Saturday at 6 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're all determined.
Okay. I take that back.
Well, that's one of those things that even in, all their sports, they sit there and they determine that where those sectional finals are going to be.
Didn't somebody send a sectional final listing this morning?
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah, we ignore his emails.
Somebody called Trash Your Dog.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
take us home, MJ. We can discuss all this off the air.
We can't discuss one more thing. Just one more thing, as Columbo would say. Milwaukee, Marquette, and Arrowhead are playing tonight. Think about that.
There's a couple makeup games tonight.
There were 2 makeup games for tonight, yes.
Curious to see how that one finishes. So for the rest of the guys, we'll keep an eye.
You got to read the sign-off thing there, MJ. Look at your notes.
Look at my notes. It says, Trasher. No, it doesn't say that. Hang on.
Send all your hate mail to Trasher at Wisconsin Prep Hockey. Yes.
Hell no. If you want to send something to Bert, send it to Trasher. He will be more than happy to forward it to Burglar. No.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
It says you can subscribe to This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, or wherever else podcasts are found. You can also watch us record the show live on YouTube.
Although I don't know why you would want to.
I don't know either. We're not quite up to the level of Spittin' Chicklets yet, but maybe someday.
So when we do this down at State and do this, are we going to open it up to a gallery, to a galley or whatever it is?
Oh,
Audience
you mean
can sit and listen to it?
I don't even think my wife would sit and listen to that.
We could do it like ESPN does, their morning shows. Everybody behind us and wearing goofy things.
Yeah.
Holding up signs.
Yep. Trasher for president or something like that. Anyways.
Let's do it, baby. Let's do it.
Before Trasher can comment on it. Hope we'll see you next week on This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. Goodbye.